The Toronto Blue Jays have finally made their way north. The season is about to start on Friday as they host the Texas Rangers. They're long rivals. I don't know if it's a rival anymore, but it's an exciting season to come. And Bobby, I'm going to start with you because you're the Yankee fan, but you're also the one who has said that the Jays are the favorite in the AL East over your Yankees. So why don't you tell us why you think that?
I think they're just the most complete team right now. In fact, I would put them as a top 3 or 4 roster in the league this year. I think they address defense with Chapman. Springer's gonna be playing a whole season. I'm still concerned about the lack of lefties in this lineup. The pitching staff is very good. This team is top to bottom as good as there is in the league this year. The bullpen seems good, barring some outrageous situation of injuries, or I expect them to win the AL East this year.
All right. And this question is for both of you. A lot of people would say to that, how are they better this year than last year when they lost Marcus Semien, who had an incredible year, and they lost the Cy Young Award winner in Robbie Ray?
It's a good question. I guess time will tell, right? I like Chapman. I think he's a nice cover, or I guess we'll bring in some of the offense left from Semien. I like that move. I also kind of like. I got a feeling you're going to see the improvement in the second half, because I think you might see guys like Moreno get a shot, who's apparently just hitting he's a hell of a prospect. So you might see what they did with Guerrero and Bichette. They might do the same with Moreno. And why doesn't the other name come to me right now? He's the it's on the tip of my tongue. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Is it the guy that prospect. Bobby loves his swing? Jordan?
No,
Groshans?
not Groshans. Groshans. Yeah. Rob, who's the infielder there? The top, the top prospect. It's on the tip of my tongue, man. The kid's incredible. Is it?
He's an infielder. Are you sure?
Oh man, it'll come to me. But anyways, I think from 1 to 5, even from the pitching staff, I think they're deeper, because I think they were really struggling to find that fifth guy last year, right? Between Stripling, it was just a revolving door. So
they started the year with Tanner Roark, I believe, is their 5th guy, right?
That didn't last too long.
No, he was horrible.
No, and you know what, Joe? I don't think the East, again, I think it's between Tampa and Toronto. I don't see what the Yankees did to make them that much better, even though they're the Yankees. And the same with the Red Sox. They added Trevor Story, but what's really made them better? I got, so it's Barrios, Gossman, Ryu, Manoa, and Kikuchi. Don't know much about Kikuchi. I'm not going to sit here saying I'm a Kikuchi.
He's a lefty out of Seattle, I believe.
Yeah.
And I know they wanted to add more lefty to the rotation because they have some strong righty throwers, but they wanted that left-right balance, right?
And who knows, their bullpen too was decent, but now they're getting a healthy Mayweather. He was lights out start of the year last year. I'm assuming Romano's going to close, unless they've confirmed that. So you never know. They still got to play the games, right? From what we hear on the radio, GMs are saying almost every team would trade their roster for the Jays, minus maybe the Dodgers. I heard that today. So they still got to play. It's a long season, Joe. But you got to think there's even more prospects coming. That's the crazy thing. And Rob, do I dare say they may even try to get Ramirez out of Cleveland still? Is that still a possibility? Even though I know San Diego's making a push.
I think the trade they just made with Reese McGuire going out, it opens it up now to basically moving on from my buddy there. I can't remember his name either now. We're flopping on names.
Danny Jansen, Alejandro Kirk.
I think it opens them up to moving Kirk out, Moreno in, and then a bunch of guys going out for Jose Ramirez. I wouldn't close the door on that yet. Let's see how the Cleveland Guardians are this year.
Don't make that mistake.
But the Jays, the pitching staff, top to bottom, I mean, you're going to have a full year of Manoah, who's going to continue to grow. I think the one thing about the Jays is they were really young last year, and they played like young baseball to start the season. They made a lot of errors. They blew a lot of games. The bullpen killed them. They upgraded the bullpen. The pitching staff, as long as it's competent this year, they've got maybe the best defensive third baseman in the game. I think the biggest thing this year will be how does Bo Bichette hold up at shortstop? Is he going to progress to a very comparable defensive shortstop? I think that's the one piece that still needs to be kind of the one question I have for this team, because offensively they're as gifted as anybody. And I look around the AL East, I look at the Yankees, and I'm like, the Yankees pitching staff's not anything that their lineup's okay. The pitching staff's good. The Red Sox kind of snuck up on everybody. They're not going to sneak up on anybody. It really is, for me, the Jays or the Rays to take down this division.
By the way, that name was Orelvis Martinez.
He's young though. I think he's still like 19. I think he's still got a couple years, but he is going to.
But he had an incredible spring again. Like, the guy's incredible.
Yeah, he heavy duty prospect. I mean, between Moreno and Martinez, they've still got Pearson, who would just landed on I believe he's going to go on like the 30-day DL because
he's got mono.
He's got mono. That's a lengthy one. This team still has asset there. This could be a dynasty if the Jays can get this right.
Take it easy. Let's win one.
I agree,
before we can start talking about dynasties.
No, but if you're a Jays fan, there's nothing but optimism with this lineup. They're young, they're good, they have money to spend, they have really good ownership in Shapiro and Atkins. That I said from day one, I loved Shapiro coming in from Cleveland. He went from a small market to a big market now, or a small payroll to now he's got lots of resources. This team is an exciting team. I don't know how, if you're in Toronto,
you were one of the few that liked him, because I remember when he first came in, the Jays had just made the postseason, had a good run. Everyone was upset that Anthopoulos left. They blamed Shapiro on that. And then a couple years later, they're rebuilding or retooling. And a lot of people were critical of him and Ross Atkins. And now they've done quite an awesome job. You talk about the optimism going into the season and about this team. It's quite different than the optimism in those 2015, 2016 teams, because those were very veteran heavy teams. And you knew that they were coming up to the kind of the end of their road. This seems like, the core is a lot of young pieces, and they've got a long stretch here where they could have some really good sustained success. So I think that's where a lot of the optimism comes from, and it's different than it was before. So I'm excited for the season, and I'm not the biggest of Jays fan. I'm admittedly a Jays bandwagon fan, and I'm already on the bandwagon. Didn't even have to wait till August.
My concern is still around the manager. I don't know. I guess, like, I know he got an extension, didn't want to be a lame duck manager, but I'm still not sold that he's the guy. Rob, maybe you might be better, have insight for me, but I'm still hot and cold there. I don't know. I just more of a gut feeling than anything.
I'm with you, but at the end of the day, he's an AL manager. So there's only so much harm you can do as an AL manager. NL, you kind of have to be a little more strategic. As an AL manager, it's like, hey, when are we bringing guys out of the bullpen? And this bullpen, they improved it a lot in the offseason. I don't have the names right now, but they're a very deep group. But this team's a little different from 2015, where that 2015 team kind of snuck up on everybody, even people in Toronto. Like, they were hitting the cover off the ball, and then at the All-Star break, they're like, hey, we're about 500 team, but let's upgrade. This team is starting as a prohibitive favorite to win the AL. I think they're probably the AL favorites to win the AL. So kind of different situations, but if you're a Toronto fan, I mean, this is and I don't think they're done. I mean, you've got prospects, you've got Groshans, you've got Pearson, you've got guys that, prospects in baseball are drafted to be traded. So they still have room to upgrade at certain positions.
Here's your relievers, Rob. It's Romano, Adam Simber, Yimi Garcia, Trevor Richards, Tim Meza, Julian Merriweather, Ryan Baricki, Ross Stripling, Nate Pearson, David Phelps.
Merriweather is interesting because he started last year as the closer and looked really good.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
thrown over 100 last year.
Yeah, and then he got injured, and then you didn't really see him after that. And he's the guy who they acquired in the Josh Donaldson trade when it was a player to be named later. He was the player to be named later. That's an interesting one. I'm gonna be keeping my eye out on him. I want to see how well he does.
I'm more curious. There's one position that I'm very curious about that I don't know if they're content with it, but it's second base. I know you lose Simeon, which is a huge hole, but you improve third base, which was an area of rotation last year, and Chapman's as good as bad as he's even better defensively. But right now you have an emerging player in Espinal, which I think he did great last year in relief and in spot duty that he had. Doesn't have much of a bat per se, but really with this lineup, is it really necessary?
But that's what he is. And you need guys like this. Yeah. He's a platoon guy, a guy who can step in to cover injuries, a guy who can give another guy a night off. He's great for that role. And he's not a terrible hitter. I think he came up with some key hits last year. So I like having him on the team, but he's more of that platoon hitter. I don't know if he's the guy I want stepping into that role full time.
Yeah, and what I think is you're gonna see him split between him and Kevin Biggio, and he's struggled mightily, right? So I just don't think there's a lot of there's contention there, right? I think I don't know much about Kasuke Kato, but he made the team. Another Japanese player, Kasuke.
Frank,
Kato.
your Japanese is it's going well. You've been practicing.
Ichiban. But no, honestly, I just, when you have a roster like that, you try to, like, the Dodgers are synonymous with it. If they're not happy, they will find as good of a player as they can. And as Rob mentioned, prospects are there to be traded. I fully expect them to upgrade at that second base position. Who that is, I don't know. Just that I don't see that being this being the long-term answer. So I'm keeping my eye on that one.
I think it's second base. If it's not Jose Ramirez from Cleveland, I think they're going to stay with Biggio and Espinal as a platoon. I'm not a big Biggio guy, but those two guys, what they both bring to the table is they are both on base percentage pretty good. And so what they're going to do is you're going to see a lot of this season. The catcher is going to hit 8, which will be Pearson or Kirk, who are not, by no means burners. They're going to have Biggio and Espinal at 9. And what that's going to do is you're going to have a guy that can get on base and that can run. And guess who's going to be coming up the top of that lineup with Springer, and then the big boys are going to start coming up. So if it's not Jose Ramirez, if it's not a massive upgrade with the bat, I think they're going to stick with Biggio and Espinal as a platoon there at second base.
So Rob, my question is, what would a Jose Ramirez trade realistically look like?
I mean, you're looking at probably 2 guys off the roster, 3 guys, and then two prospects. I mean, the guy's still got 2 years of control. Apparently, the Guardians don't want to move him. They're rebranding and they need him. I don't buy into that. I think if they call and say, hey, we want Martinez, we want Pearson, we want Groshans, the Jays would, and even Biggio, the Jays would sit there and go, we're loaded at all these positions. We don't really need these guys. Let's make a move and get one of the top 3 bats in the league. So it's going to cost a lot, but the Jays have a ton of artillery in terms of money they have, in terms of prospects, in terms of players on the roster. We've got guys like Pearson can't even find his way onto this roster right now. So you're looking at a guy that would fetch probably a nice price and would be involved in that trade. So it's going to cost a lot. It's not going to be like people are like, hey, Alejandro Kirk and a prospect. No, it's going to be like,
I love those people.
Those are, yeah. Like this is going to be like you're giving up Biggio. Yeah. Like probably 4 or 5 players, but the Jays have that. Like you look at a guy like Groshans. Where's Groshans going to play? You've got Matt Chapman now. You've got Bichette, and you've got Guerrero. I mean, 3 of the 4 positions in the infield are gone. Where's Martinez going to play? If he can upgrade this roster and try to win a World Series now, I say you do it. And they need lefties. The biggest issue with this team is they have all righty hitters, and any power righty is going to give this team problems. So I think they need to start finding some lefties. They made a trade for a lefty a week ago. I can't remember who it was, but I think they've kind of said, we need to address this now.
So here's the rumored, or one of the rumored offers to Cleveland. So the offer would be something more along the lines of Jordan Groshans, Gunnar Hoagland, who's the number. So Groshans number 4 prospect in the pool. Gunnar Hoagland's number 5, and Otto Lopez is number 6. So 2 infielders, a starting pitcher, and possibly Lourdes Gurriel.
Yeah, I think Gurriel might have to come off too. It'll be something to that effect. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jays try to throw in Alejandro Kirk, or knowing that you have Gabriel Moreno, who is like an elite catcher prospect, maybe the best catcher prospect in the league. You have him coming through. They've already got depth at that catcher position in Danny Jansen. I wouldn't be surprised if they said, let's move a catcher to whatever we have to do to get this guy. And he's got 2 years of control. So, and again, there's the ties between Cleveland and Toronto. So I think it's going to cost more than a 4, 5, 6 prospects. I think there's going to be probably 1 or 2 guys come off the roster as well.
Oh boy.
There you go.
All right, boys. Well, we're all excited. Even the Yankee fan is excited to see the Jays run away with this division. Eh, Bobby?
I wouldn't say run away. I mean, Tampa's still formidable. They always
run away from the Yankees. Run away from them.
Yes, they'll run away from them for sure.
All right. Thank you. You heard it here first. Bobby Bottles, Yankee fan. They have no shot against the Jays. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop us a line or a comment, and we will respond. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening.